This week, as Putin prepares for what the Kremlin is calling the grandest Victory Day parade ever, marking the 80th anniversary of Nazi Germany's defeat and possibly being a distraction from the disasters in Ukraine, Russia is simultaneously besieged by violence within and economic strain without. While Moscow rehearses patriotic displays of military might, chaos unfolds in Dagistan, where a deadly attack killed 3 police officers. Meanwhile, Ukraine launched cross-border strikes on Russian infrastructure in Kursk, and drones returned to Moscow's skies. In the middle of all these flashpoints, Putin declared that Russia has the strength and means to finish what it started in Ukraine. But this bluster masks a deeper reality. Putin seems cornered militarily, diplomatically, and economically. On May the 5th, gunmen opened fire on traffic police in the capital of Dagestan, killing 3 officers, injuring several civilians, including a 17-year-old girl. 2 attackers were killed, others fled. This isn't an isolated incident. Dagestan, a Muslim-majority republic, has long been a hotbed of jihadist militancy. In March, Russian security forces claimed to thwart an ISIS-linked plot. In June 2024, an orchestrated assault on churches and synagogues killed 20. These attacks illuminate a broader fragility within the Russian Federation, even as Putin projects imperial strength abroad and his own periphery remains volatile, fractured and susceptible to both Islamist extremism and anti-Moscow sentiment. Against this backdrop, Putin is pushing forward with the spectacular May the 9th parade, including a complete replica of the Reichstag, and Victory Day, once a solemn commemoration, has become a theatre of myth-making used by Putin to cast the war in Ukraine as the moral sequel to World War II. Red Square will host a parade featuring jets trailing the Russian tricolour, battalions of soldiers, and Putin himself delivering a speech heavy with wartime tropes. He's even proposed a 72-hour ceasefire dismissed by Kyiv as top-level cynicism. Zelensky rightly asked, why stop bombing for 3 days if peace isn't your aim? In truth, a ceasefire is less about diplomacy than optics. Putin fears Ukrainian drones targeting the very heart of the narrative, Red Square. Moscow is fortified with anti-air systems. Over 280 have been moved to defend the capital. It's not peace he seeks, it's parade protection. And behind the martial pomp lies a stark economic collapse. With oil prices falling below $70 a barrel, Russia's fiscal sweet pot, the government has quietly tripled its forecasted budget deficit. The National Wealth Fund, Russia's rainy day reverse, is rapidly draining. Estimates now show that even with revised numbers, Russia doesn't have enough reserve to cover this year's shortfall, let alone the rest of 2025 and onwards into 2030. What's more, hopes of a booming tax intake from the non-energy sector has proven delusional. Growth is stagnant, inflation is rising, military bonds offered at 16% yield, an eye-watering rate, are no longer a solution. Russia is essentially borrowing money just to pay interest on old debts. That's called fiscal cannibalism. Putin's only option is the printing press, which brings stagflation, a grim mixture of economic torpor and runaway inflation. And this isn't a future risk, it's already underway. Let's print some more money. All the while, Putin rejects off-ramps. Even Donald Trump's ceasefire offer, which included recognizing Russian claims over Crimea and parts of the Donbass, was waved away. For a man portrayed as transactional, Putin is strikingly ideological. He still speaks of denazification and imagines a long-term logical conclusion to a war that has produced only death, sanctions, and domestic repression. Yet globally, he grows more alone. China, though sending Xi to the parade, has grown quietly wary. India flirts with US overtures. Europe dithers in unity. Germany, France, the Czech Republic are ramping up Ukrainian support. Meanwhile, Ukrainian drones now routinely penetrate Russian airspace, striking radar sites, refineries and airfields. Kyiv doesn't need to bomb Red Square. It's already undermining the myth through asymmetry and attrition. And the story is getting out that the Kremlin-sponsored drone attacks, the Russian attacks, are all on civilians. All on civilians. You can't call this a military strategy when you're striking civilian centers across Kyiv and Odessa And when you're following when you're following civilians down the street with drones to kill them, that's not that's not a war against soldiers. That's terrorism, and that's done by Russia, by Putin's orders, by the Kremlin. And then, of course, there's a question about whether Putin is really Putin, and frankly, who cares? This evil at the heart of this empire, which sees civilians as a legitimate target, it needs to be called out. The irony of Putin's May the 9th spectacle is this: the more he indulges in historical nostalgia, the more he highlights the hollowness of the present. The USSR could claim victory in 1945. Putin cannot claim one in 2025. Ukraine continues to fight, innovate, and garner support. Dagistan reveals the erosion of internal control, and the economy, once cushioned by petrodollars, is now buckling under the costs of the war. Victory Day may light up Moscow with jets and flags, but behind the glitter lies a desperate calculus. Hold the line, stage the show, pray no drones spoil the illusion, but illusions don't win wars, and this one is cracking.